The passengers on board the Boeing 707 had no idea that somewhere inside the cabin, hidden among ordinary luggage, a small radio was quietly counting down to an explosion. It was November 29th, 1987. Korean Air Flight 858 had departed from Baghdad and was making its long journey to Seoul. With scheduled stops along the way, families were traveling home, business passengers were preparing for meetings, flight attendants moved calmly through the aisle as the aircraft cruised high above the Andaman Sea. Everything looked normal. The pilots even radioed ahead that they expected to arrive on time. And then, the aircraft disappeared. Within seconds, the Boeing 707 broke apart in the sky. Flaming debris fell into the dark waters below. All 115 people on board were killed. At first, investigators weren't sure what had happened. A mechanical failure? A mid-air explosion? A terrorist attack? But as investigators began following the trail of evidence, they uncovered a story that sounded like something from a spy thriller, because the destruction of Flight 858 wasn't an accident. It was a carefully planned mission, carried out by 2 North Korean secret agents, and one of them would survive to tell the story. In the late 1980s, tensions between North Korea and South Korea were extremely high. The Korean Peninsula had technically been at war since 1953. Although the Korean War ended with an armistice, a permanent peace treaty was never signed. For decades afterward, both sides lived under constant military tension, espionage, and occasional acts of sabotage. But by 1987, something significant was approaching. South Korea was preparing to host the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. For the government in Seoul, the Olympics were more than just a sporting event. They were a chance to show the world that South Korea had become a modern, successful country. But for North Korea, the Olympics represented something very different, a global spotlight on its rival. And according to investigators, North Korea's leadership decided to stop it. Their goal was simple: create fear, disrupt the Olympics, and destabilize South Korea before the world arrived. To carry out the mission, North Korean intelligence selected 2 agents. One of them was a young woman named Kim Hyeon-hui. Born in North Korea in 1962, Kim had been trained for years as an intelligence operative. She studied languages, espionage tactics, and how to operate undercover in foreign countries. Like many North Korean agents, she had been raised in a system of strict ideological control. She believed that South Korea was poor, chaotic, and oppressed by foreign powers, and she believed her mission would help reunify Korea. In 1987, she received her orders: plant a bomb on a South Korean passenger plane. The instructions, she later said, came directly from North Korea's future leader, Kim Jong-il. If the attack succeeded, it could frighten foreign athletes and governments away from attending the Olympics in Seoul. Kim would not be working alone. She was paired with another agent, an older man named Kim Sung-il. To the outside world, they would pretend to be a Japanese father and daughter traveling abroad. Their fake identities were Shinichi Hachiya and Mayumi Hachiya. With forged Japanese passports, the 2 agents began their journey across Europe and the Middle East. Before the mission began, they traveled through several cities including Moscow, Budapest, Vienna, and Belgrade. In Belgrade, other North Korean operatives provided them with the weapon they would use. It looked harmless, a small Panasonic radio. But inside the radio was a carefully constructed time bomb. The device contained explosive material and a timer designed to detonate hours after being activated. Along with the radio, they carried another container disguised as a liquor bottle filled with additional liquid explosive. Together, the 2 items would create a powerful mid-air blast. Once the bomb was placed on the aircraft, the agents planned to escape before it exploded. Their target would be Korean Air Flight 858. On November 28th, the agents arrived at Baghdad International Airport. They boarded the Korean Air Boeing 707 as ordinary passengers. The aircraft was scheduled to fly from Baghdad to Seoul, with 2 stops along the route. First in Abu Dhabi, then Bangkok. To anyone watching, the 2 travelers looked completely normal. But hidden inside their luggage was the bomb. Once the aircraft was in the air, they quietly placed the radio inside the overhead storage compartment above their seats. Then they activated the timer. 9 hours. That was how long the bomb would wait before detonating. It was long enough for them to leave the aircraft and be far away when the explosion occurred. When the plane landed in Abu Dhabi, the two agents calmly gathered their belongings and walked off the aircraft. Behind them, the bomb remained hidden in the cabin. The Boeing 707 took off again, heading toward its next stop in Bangkok. On board were 104 passengers and 11 crew members. Most of them were South Korean citizens returning home. For hours, the flight continued normally. The pilots communicated with air traffic control, reporting that everything was routine. But high above the Andaman Sea, the timer reached 0. At approximately 2:05 p.m. Korean time, the bomb exploded. The blast ripped through the cabin. Within seconds, the Boeing 707 broke apart in midair and crashed into the ocean near the coast of Myanmar. There were no survivors. 115 people were dead. Meanwhile, the two agents believed their escape would be easy. From Abu Dhabi, they planned to continue traveling through several countries before eventually returning home to North Korea. But something went wrong. When they arrived in Bahrain, immigration officials became suspicious. Their travel documents looked unusual. Authorities began questioning them more closely. Realizing they were about to be arrested, the agents made a desperate decision. Each of them carried a hidden cyanide capsule inside a cigarette. It was standard practice for North Korean operatives, a way to avoid interrogation if captured. When the authorities moved to detain them, both agents bit into the capsules. Kim Seung-il died almost immediately, but Kim Hyeon-hwee survived. She was rushed to a hospital, and soon investigators began questioning her. At first, she tried to maintain the cover story. She claimed to be a Japanese tourist, but the evidence against her continued to grow. Eventually, she confessed. Kim admitted that she was a North Korean spy. She described the training she had received, the mission orders, and how the bomb had been planted on Flight 858. She also revealed the goal behind the attack. The bombing was intended to disrupt the upcoming 1988 Seoul Olympics and create political instability in South Korea. The confession shocked the world. Governments around the globe condemned the attack as an act of terrorism. The United States later listed North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism, partly because of the bombing. Kim Hyeon-hwee was eventually transferred to South Korea to stand trial. In court, she was found guilty of murdering all 115 people aboard the aircraft. The court sentenced her to death. But something unusual happened next. South Korean President Roh Tae-woo later pardoned her. Officials believed she had been heavily brainwashed by North Korea during her training and upbringing. Instead of execution, she began cooperating with South Korean authorities. Over time, Kim publicly expressed deep regret for what she had done. She wrote a memoir titled The Tears of My Soul, describing how she had been trained and manipulated by the North Korean intelligence system. Her story offered a rare glimpse into the secret world of North Korean espionage. Today, she lives in South Korea under heavy security, fearing possible retaliation. Because in North Korea, defectors and traitors are never forgiven. The bombing of Korean Air Flight 858 remains one of the deadliest acts of aviation terrorism during the Cold War. 115 lives lost. Not because of mechanical failure or pilot error, but because of a political operation carried out thousands of miles away. For the families of the victims, the tragedy left wounds that would never fully heal. And for the world, the incident revealed just how far geopolitical conflicts could reach, even into the cabin of an ordinary passenger flight. A single radio, hidden in an overhead bin, a timer quietly ticking away in the darkness, and a peaceful flight that ended in disaster high above the sea. If you want to hear more true stories of aviation mysteries, espionage, and hidden events that changed history, make sure to subscribe, because sometimes the most chilling stories in aviation are the ones that really happened